Welcome to Rough Realities and Revelations.
Hello, welcome.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm
You're
alright.
looking cozy.
Well, equally, you're looking cozy. This is because we're in that weird in between Christmas and New Year stage
Yes. Don't know what
where
season it is. Don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know what you call it. It's just
Stay
we've
in
had our
between.
Christmas,
Stay in between. That's what it's called.
yeah, in the in between.
Stay in
So
between.
yeah, and I just thought because it's the in between, let's not
Let's not bother
um
getting dressed.
let's not bother getting dressed. Let's not bother getting Bertha out.
Yeah.
Let's just do a little video call again,
Yes.
and
Stay
because
cozy.
it's really you and I's only time off of the year.
hmm hmm
So I just was like, nah, I just want to sit in my Halloween hoodie. I like your one. It's got little corgis on it.
So I'm just going to go off on a wee side quest here because I've just looked at myself and does that upside down corgi, does that look rude?
His bone that he's holding. I didn't want to say anything because I was like, don't lower the tone, Becky.
It's
But when
like
you've
up in
got
that way, but if it's upside
when, when he's that way, I had to kind of take a wee double take, thinking, "Oh, but no, that's only because I'm a saddle.
yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. We know he's holding a bone.
Yeah, get
It's
your
okay.
mind out the gutter.
Exactly. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, so just a few more days left of our little holiday. Um, going to enjoy it. I'm just basically going to sit in this hoodie, stay cozy.
no, definitely. So the reason I got you to podcast today and like get out from under your blankets is because I was reading this article about this local authority. It was in England somewhere, as usual. I don't have like all the actual facts, but it was in England somewhere, and they're wanting to make it so that dogs are banned from certain areas of like public parks, like council-owned land. Uh,
Oh, okay,
that that there will be fenced off areas in parks and stuff where dogs are not allowed.
okay.
And in response to that, a kind of army of the article called the Militant dog owners have formed a protest group to protest these changes, and they've been flyering and posted in and protesting outside the council offices and stuff like that, saying that them and their dogs should be allowed. We pay our council tax, we should be allowed everywhere.
Everywhere, everywhere.
um, and it just got me thinking about like shared spaces, the importance of segregated spaces, and just, how we should all behave around each other. What do you think about that?
I think yes, I'm with you on that one because I I also this is one of my potential soapbox ones, so I'll try and rein
Your
myself
one
in.
soapboxes. This is my one soapbox.
One of them,
One of
one
your
of
one
them,
soapboxes.
because yeah, I get really riled at people's entitlement of I'm the only one that matters.
Yeah.
That royally fucking pisses me off. But what I want to know is what are they fencing in? What's getting fenced in?
Yes.
Why are they? What have they got these areas for?
So it's areas of public parks. So it might be, for example, playgrounds
Oh right, okay, yeah,
or playing fields, football pitches,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
pitches, that kind of thing, or just green spaces in the park that are fenced off, not for dog use, so for people that don't have dogs.
Oh, okay, all right. I follow you now because I was thinking, oh, that's a bit random. Like
So
fencing
where
off.
you might, a bit of like the woods and the grass might be fenced off just for humans having picnics or playing with their
Yeah,
children or things like that, and no dogs are allowed like in that space.
fuck's sake. Like these militant dog people get a life. Like I that makes to me that makes perfect sense, right? Because the last thing children probably want is dogs running about a park. If they're trying to play on the swings, I don't know, I'm going to start making up stuff because I don't know about this anymore, I'm too old. Slides, flying foxes, whatever is inside a park.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, as a dog owner, if I was walking, well, I walk past these parks and they're not fenced in. So I will say where we are, there's not these kind of restrictions.
Yeah.
I put my dogs on the fucking lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kids play there. The last thing I want my dog to do is to go over and either jump up on one of the kids, or because I have all boy dogs, I bet any money they go over and piss on something.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
having that, that's not fair at all.
Yeah.
But also, they'll probably root about. They always put the stupid chippings in there, like
Mm-hmm.
the bark chippings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my dogs rooting about in there because some wildlife has pooed in there and they're trying to eat it. So I think that one's a bit hypocritical of the dog brigade going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want my dog to be able to run around. Why can't children enjoy themselves without the worry of a dog coming up? Because like, a lot of kids are scared of dogs. You know, a lot of kids, they're only little and they've got dogs potentially bigger than them or whatever. And I do feel we're not very good at the moment of taking responsibility for our dogs' actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people like to dress it up as friendly dogs, but it's just rude dogs that are quite unruly, running about the now, and people don't seem to want to take any responsibility for it. So that get. I completely get playing fields because this happens up our way all the time. We have, again, no restrictions.
Yeah.
And I see posts on social media from football groups, rugby groups, saying we've had to scour the pitch and pick up all the poop because people haven't picked up poop, all the rest of it. That, again, that's not fair. People are playing a sport, whether
Yeah.
they're adults or children. What? You want to be tackled and slide across some dog poo, do you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that
Like,
those pitches at the back of yours, they're always fully poop.
they are. They are. And it is. So personally, I don't think that's unreasonable.
Mm.
One of my local walking areas is actually a nature reserve,
Uh-huh.
and there's now, so there's always been one big section, that's been the original reserve, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a no dog zone. Or I think you can take the dog on lead,
Yeah.
but nobody in their right mind actually really truthfully goes in with a dog.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, and then they've recently built two more,
Mm-hmm.
which is fenced in, which we've been told the dogs have to be on lead or close control. I personally don't see anything wrong with that. Why can't you just put your dog on a lead? What's wrong with you if that's such a difficult task for you to do?
I
You
know.
know? It's just, that blows my mind because we're, in general, well, maybe this is one reason that actually that dog brigade were just like losing it. Thanks to all the new builds, we are losing spaces, green spaces to walk dogs. You
Yeah.
know, I get that there is less and less areas to walk dogs now. So I suppose if you get further restrictions, people will lose their minds. But
Yeah. And there's more dogs. There's more dogs than ever to be
there
walked
is,
as well.
yeah, there is.
So space is tight, but all the more reason I think to find a way where people and dogs can be kept safe and if need to
Yeah.
be separate. Like,
Well, this is it because I think, like for us, the age-old argument in the dog world has always been reactive dogs and their owners
yeah,
versus the, oh, my dog's friendly, it's absolutely fine brigade,
yeah,
and they will
hmm
forever butt heads. But I do see it from both sides. Like, I do have reactive dogs, so I am more biased. So I'm going to put that out there now in case anyone's like, Becky, you're talking about reactive dogs all the time. It's because I've lived it in my life. I don't know why, but I have always had one or more dogs that don't like dogs that they don't know.
yeah,
So they will bark and lunge. Some of them will grab,
hmm
and stuff like that. And I think because I've always had those, my life is made a misery by people who can't read body language, like as in my body language of walking away, putting dogs on lead, disappearing. and then their dog's still running up, and the people are like, it's okay, my dog's okay. I'm like, well, fucking good for you that your dog's okay, because sadly mine's isn't, and I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to get away from you, and it really, I'm not always. I always say to people, dog walking Becky and dog training Becky are very different people. Like,
Yeah.
dog walking Becky is quite mean and like quite like because I've just been trigger snacked over the past like 30 odd years.
Mm-hmm.
However, equally, I also have friendly dogs.
Yeah.
And I have, or I will say actually, all my boys are friendly. They just like to take their time to know who they're interacting with,
Yeah.
you know. But the ones that, for the sake of this conversation, to me, a friendly dog is a dog who actually just doesn't bother who they're talking to and doesn't really kick off, has good, well, can manage their emotions a bit better so they could just walk away if they don't like something instead of shouting about it. But so I have those friendly dogs, and it's nice to be able to see them enjoy themselves meeting new dogs and stuff. So I get it. Like, I get both sides of the coin,
Yeah.
but it just enrages me
Definitely.
most days.
And I think I've always been wary with my dogs around children
Yeah.
because I don't have children in the house, and because they've always been rescue dogs, and so I've never known exactly what their association with children has been.
Mm,
Um, it's quite obvious with Blue. He doesn't like children. He gets spooked if he hears children when we're out on walks and stuff. So for that reason, I've always kind of like avoided walking places that are child heavy.
mm,
And so it's easy then for me to flip that and say, right, I can easily see why people with children would want to avoid places that are dog heavy,
mm.
and that perhaps might want spaces that are just for them without dogs.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and I get like really anxious for the dogs and for the kids when I see dogs running about, like in play parks and stuff. But also like on school runs, like for me, like, and I'm not a mother, but like I have worked in schools and stuff, and I know what playgrounds are like.
Mm,
And having dogs on school runs for me, like, is a big no no. But you see it happening all the time. You see people taking, in the morning they're taking the kids and they're taking the dog, and the dog is
yeah.
into that like really busy, like noisy, surrounded by kids environment, and that just gives me anxiety for that dog.
I know, and I think it depends on the dog, doesn't it? I think there's
Yeah.
some dogs that thrive on that and love that,
Hmm.
and there's other dogs that would be like you and I. Why would we put ourselves on a school run? Like,
Yeah.
that's just not. Because I'm like you. I don't. You know, I don't have any little people. I don't have little people even within the family anymore. So my dogs aren't particularly exposed to children.
Hmm.
I don't want to make friends with children, so I don't stop to talk to any of them. However, um, I do get kids wanting to come up though. Like the neighbours round, when ours are out, they like our dogs.
Yeah.
And the neighbours will come up and they're good. And this is where I think we need to take responsibility about the training part of the dogs. So I'll get my guys feet on the floor, not to jump up. I'll ask the kids, you know, hand them a treat, only pet them here, like this sort of thing. And they actually have quite a nice little relationship. The dogs always kind of light up when they see these kids coming, because they're like, oh, they're our friends.
Hmm.
But I think that things that I've noticed when I've been out dog walking, and it's predominantly in the holidays, when parents are taking the kids out and about, they'll see a group of dogs, and the kids are like, "Wow, there's like 5, 6, 7 dogs or whatever,"
Yeah.
and from a body language perspective, kids between the ages of sort of like 3 and kind of like about 12 are quite intimidating to dogs because they just in child wonderment, they're not doing anything wrong in the slightest, but they're like, wow, they just look right head on
Hmm.
and their whole body faces the dog
Hmm.
and they just stare. They're just like that. And then there's the potential for then awkward movements where they get excited and they go, "Wow, the dogs!" like this. So then the dogs are like, "Whoa, I didn't know you were going to do that." Squealing, shouting, getting excited. If they're going to come up to say hello to the dog, what I notice is they go straight up. There's not a general coming on an arc or anything. It's just very direct.
Yeah.
And a lot of the dogs I walk don't have kids. So they're like, whoa, what is this little alien thing doing? And of course, I'm saying to the parents, some of these aren't great with kids. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get out the way, but there's only so much room for me to go. And it's, yeah, I'm like you. I'm always like, what if they jump up and scratch them? What if they bark at them? You know, my niece when she was younger was terrified of dogs. So I know what it's like to have a child who's utterly terrified of dogs. That's a shame, and it doesn't need to be that way. And I would hate if a dog under my care reinforced a child's fear.
Yeah.
I always think, oh well, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's the same. I think where school runs are considered, because I get it, it's multitasking, isn't it? The dog
Definitely.
gets exercised. We get the kid to school. I don't have enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe the dog can't be left at home is the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, we do have, especially when we first get a dog, we do have this romanticized version of how life's going to be. Like the dog's going to be a real integral part of the family, not just a family member, but they're literally part of the family, that they come to all of these things. They do the activities with everybody. And I think people underestimate the level of training that has to go in to achieve that vision that you have of the dog walking on a loose lead, not jumping up at people,
Yeah.
essentially just ignoring things, going with you, waiting patiently at the gates, not barking, not pulling at the lead, all this sort of thing. That doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
And also I think folk are unaware of the dog's personality. Like there are some dogs, honestly, that is a brilliant thing for them to do.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm with everybody, absolutely love this. People say hello to me. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it's totally their bag. And actually for them, it would be a shame if you took that away.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other dogs that are like, oh my God, it's so noisy. I get stood on. People touch me and I didn't want them touching me. And so I think from that perspective, I think you have to look at the dog, and then also be aware of the training that actually goes into stuff like that. But I
Definitely. Yet again, surprise, surprise, the dogs don't train themselves.
I mean, if only they did. Well, actually, no, I do say that, but no, I'm doing myself out of a job. No, don't train yourself. I wish my own dogs trained themselves.
Yeah.
That would
No,
speed things
definitely.
up and everything. But yeah, other people's dogs, no, because then you'd need my help and keep me in a job. Thank you. But I do agree with you that I always get uneasy seeing dogs in play parks. Well, actually, no, it's okay. I'm going to sort of put it on a scale. I've seen everything from the dog gets quite manic in a park and runs round, because some dogs like to control a lot of movement. They don't like the chaos. So they're like, oh, settle down, everybody, settle down. And they're just sort of running and pottering about and kind of like, oh, don't think those dogs are having the best time of their lives. But then equally, I've seen other dogs that, bless them, they're like, oh, we're at the park. And they're just sitting at the bench. They're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sitting there because they're like, oh, this is what we do. I'm just going to wait there. But I honestly don't think it's unreasonable to have spaces where it's children only. And I also don't think I think majority of people with dogs would like a fenced in separate picnic area in a dog walking area. I think we've all been caught out where we haven't realised somebody was sitting on the grass right at like a pathway. You've went round and all you hear is, no, it's my sandwich. And you're like, oh, my dog's got somebody's sandwich. Oh no. So I don't think the picnic one should upset anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's already like there's already a lot of beaches, like in England, where
Yeah,
dogs are banned, like in the summertime, like certain hours of the day, have no dogs on the beach.
yeah.
And and I can see why that might upset people, but there's other places you can walk your dog. You
Do you know
know?
what it is? I think it's that age old thing of the minority spoiling it for the majority.
Yeah.
Like I think the majority of dog owners do try and keep themselves to themselves, and the minority that feels super entitled and genuinely can't see anything wrong with what they're doing, they're the ones that put everybody's backs up, and they're the ones that have the council going, oh, I think we should put restrictions in. Because I see it every year at the nature reserve. I was trying to think, oh God, what's it called?
Hmm.
The nature reserve that I walk in,
Yeah.
from April to, do I want to say August?
Probably September.
I was going to say, yeah, September sounds more likely.
Mhm.
April onwards, there are sections that they ask you not to walk the dogs because you've got the nesting birds.
Yeah, ground nesting bird.
Every year, dog dog walkers are like, no, but that's where I walk. No. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these birds are only here for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Like, just let them do their thing.
Hmm.
And then you can go back to that area.
Yeah.
You just have to walk somewhere else. That's as hard as it gets.
Hmm.
Or if you must walk that bit, just put your dog on a lead and stick to that path. Just don't let them go in the long grass
Hmm.
where those poor birds are trying to just have their babies. That's all you're being asked to do. Yet there's always people that just are like, oh, that sign doesn't apply to me. My dog somehow doesn't disturb anything as it's running
Yeah.
around. So yeah, people are funny. People are funny because I think my wish, just thinking this is like, we'll be getting to the end of the year shortly.
Yeah.
My wish for next year is somehow people do start acknowledging everywhere is a shared space and
Hmm.
it's not just all about them. And I think that, like, so I think when you've got a super sociable dog
Yeah.
and your dog's not a problem, I think your responsibility is to be good at reading people's body language and realizing, are you about to go up to a non-sociable dog in person? Like, and it's
Yeah.
the people as well. So the same applies for, there'll be people wanting to walk in these spaces because there's a reason us dog walkers like it. They're usually picturesque. They're, nice places to walk. It's away from, the concrete jungle.
Yeah.
People with no dogs also enjoy those places.
Yeah.
Do you know? So if you see somebody, so let's take the dog etiquette part. So for me, if I'm out with my friendly crew, um, if I'm walking towards somebody and the big flag is either the person literally does a sort of like 90-degree turn and walks away from me,
Yeah.
like away in the other
Yeah.
direction, I'm like, oh, that person doesn't want anything to do with my dogs. So then I'll be like, and it's a very obvious, like they've literally changed and gone. Um, I will keep my dogs close to me. I might not put them on the lead because maybe this person's far enough away, but I'll keep them close to me.
Hmm.
If they, even if they don't do that, if they put a lead on their dog, so if their dog's off lead and they put a lead on, or the lead is already on the dog, then I'm like, right, this isn't the time for meets and greets. So even though my dogs would stay at my side, I will put mines on to signal to that other person that I clock that, I've got you. And that'll help reduce the anxiety in that person because I know, being that person, if I don't see that person calling the dogs back and keeping them close or putting them on the lead, I'm like, they're going to let them come up. They're going to let them come up. Um, the other one I'm watching is the dog's behaviour as well. So, because you got some people who don't realise their dog's not quite as sociable as they think.
Hmm.
So even if that person's just carrying on walking towards me and my off-lead dogs and hasn't necessarily put their dog on or changed their kind of walking path, I'm looking at the dog to see what the dog's doing. So if the dog hangs back or the dog starts to move further away and does a big arc, I'm like, that dog doesn't want to meet us.
Yeah.
And for me, it might just be because I would have 3 or 4 friendly dogs. That's a lot. So an individual dog might be like, oh, I don't want to say hello to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if I clock that, I'm calling mine's back and I'm like, right, you're staying with me, gang. That one's not for saying hello. It's different if the dog's then walking up ahead and it's like, oh, I'm going to say hiya. I'm going to say hiya. Then I'm like, right, fine. And like, this dog clearly wants to come over and say hello. The other one I'm looking at is if there's maybe not a lot of space, but the people have put the dog on a lead and they've moved as far away off the path as I can,
Yeah.
then I'm like, yeah, that person doesn't want me or my dog stopping and doing anything.
Yeah.
So mine's definitely going the lead. And as we pass, I will keep my dog's attention on me.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're not staring, because the staring is what's going to kick off the
Yeah.
stationary dog.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll do things like that. And I don't mind that, because not everybody wants to say hello, because chances are in about 5-10 minutes, I'm going to come across somebody who's got an equally sociable dog.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's important to me that my dogs interact with other dogs, then that's fine. I just have to wait 10 minutes and it'll happen.
I think
But I always...
all of these things, though, that you're relying on people like being present in the moment and aware of their surroundings. And I think, it's the same dogs, children, cyclists, whoever. We're not present enough in the moment and we're not aware enough of our surroundings. And that's how we end up in these sticky situations.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Because this is what I mean by folk are not... they're not as responsible as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know I'm labelling it as entitlement. Some people it is sheer entitlement. They just cannot see what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of us, our lives are like so stressful and we've got so much going on these days. We've got so much going on in our heads. You're right. We're not present. We're either worrying everything away in our brain, or we're trying to have moments of quiet. So we're listening to an audiobook or a podcast as we're walking.
Yes, I was going to say that nobody's ever just walking their dog. They're walking their dog and they're on a call, or they're walking their dog and they're scrolling their phone, or they're walking their dog and they're listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever just walking their dog nowadays.
No. And I'll hold my hands up. I am guilty of that. I will be listening to a podcast, one of my murder podcasts, as I walk through the quiet woods. There's nothing scary about that. But I always make sure it's just on one ear, so I can still hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've been so trained over the years of having reactive dogs. I'm hyper vigilant. I can multitask. I can listen and I can watch stuff. But I think it's a very valid point. Or maybe this is the only time people can talk to their friends because they're out the house and they've got nobody else demanding their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. But at the same time, I just think, for God's sake, you're an adult. Like, please start to pull stuff like that together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what makes me sad is when it's, when we have a sociable dog and we've done the faux pas of sociable dog has gone up to a reactive dog. It's not just the whole unpleasantness of that situation, because there's several things that will happen. Either it's just a bit of a shouting match. People walk on. There's no... that sociable dog person's not realised the implications because the other person's not said anything. So for them, they've just went, oh, that dog was a bit grumpy. They've not thought any more of it. But for that person with the reactive dog, you've possibly set that dog's training back by months. Mm-hmm. Because maybe that was the first time that person's gone somewhere busier. Because their training's moved on and they're like, yep, we've got the skills, we've got the training skills to do this. They've gone there, and because you got lost in a phone call or you got lost in your wee head and you didn't notice, you fucked that up for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Or you sometimes, and I try not to do it as much these days. I did go through a period where I just couldn't contain my rage, and I would have a pop at the person and be like, for God's sake, I'm standing in a fucking hedge
Yeah, I mean,
away from you. You know, and that's not nice for the other person because the other person didn't know what was happening. But at the same time, it's like, open your eyes. I get this several times a day. I just look, you know. So you've got that where you think, God, that person's ruined my walk because they've shouted at me. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, don't be a dick about it. So I think there's things like that. But then equally, you know, reactive folk, not fucking blameless and stuff. You know, I realise the majority of them will try to stick to quieter areas. Usually folk with reactive dogs invest time in training, if I'm honest with you. They do ironically have more control of their dog.
Yeah.
Than a sociable dog because they have to. But at the same time, I do sometimes think some reactive owners put the dog in situations it shouldn't be in because they're going, I should be able to walk it everywhere. I should be able to take my dog there. Some dogs either are not ready or will never be ready. Like, let's look at Blue he's had a shit time with kids, right? He's not had a good history with children. I'm not convinced he'll ever be okay with children.
No.
I don't think he would ever be happy about being around children.
No.
So I think if you had the attitude of, but we should be able to go everywhere, I'll take him to these parks, I would call you out and be like, I think you're being shit to him. He's such a bad history with stuff like that. He can't handle it. He hates it. I mean, obviously you would never do it, but if you did, I'd be like, what are you doing? That's not cool for him. And there are some dogs like that. Like some of my reactive dogs, I would never take to, like locally, we've got some areas where I call them the It's Okay, My Dog's Friendly Brigade. Everybody walks there, has that sort of mentality. I am not going to put my dogs in that position. Yeah, I might want to walk there, you know, lovely beaches, you know, nice cafes to go to, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But would my reactive dogs be happy about that? No. Do I have to put them under that stress? No. I can take them the other places that we go where we can just navigate those areas. So I think that people need to start being more responsible. I think people need to start having better recalls for one.
Yeah.
Because often I find one of the reasons I really struggle with the sociable dogs and when I'm out and about and I'm like shouting at the owner, call your dog please. Although I think that has to be the most triggering phrase for a sociable dog person to hear. Anytime you shout, can you call your dog please? Apparently they kick into it. There's nothing wrong with my dog. He's friendly. He's wise. It's like, calm down. I don't want your dog getting hurt. Is all I want to happen. Please make your dog go away. That's fucking it. But it does seem to like totally like trigger people, and they're like this.
I think the pressure, the pressure really ramps up then as well because that dog probably has like a 99 out of 100 recall in any other situation. But as soon as somebody says, "Will you call your dog?" that dog is like, "Dog? What dog? There's no dog here. I'm not a dog. Who's that woman shouting on? I don't know her."
I've had to say that to people where, you know, I've maybe got the situation wrong. I've thought it's been a sociable situation and the dog started to wander over. And then I saw that person change, like, oh, I didn't think you were coming over. And I'm like, oops, I read that wrong. So my normally good dog with a recall, I'm like, this way. And they're like, don't know who they're talking to. I was going over there and I'm like, no. And then I usually shout over to the person. I said, I am so sorry. Apparently their ears don't work today. The one day I need them to work, I'll try. And because my difficulty is I've normally got others with me that I can't just march over. And I'm like, get away, you know, get out of my way. But I do. But I think, yeah, there's the element of that's the one time the recall doesn't work. But often, I think when we have a dog who's like not a problem, we don't work on recall as well as we could.
Yeah.
So you don't have a good recall. Your recall only works once your dog's investigated what they want to investigate and then they come back. That's very different from as soon as you call them, your dog should just disengage from whatever and come back.
Yeah.
You know, and so I do find when they don't call them, it's out of embarrassment because they know they can't call them.
Yeah.
And then it's going to, it almost doubles down on the humiliation of I can't control my dog.
Yeah.
But I think people need to learn how to have a good recall. Like they do need to go to trainers and get taught actually how to have a consistently good recall, because that would stop half of the problems that go on right now. And dogs still could have freedom,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that also, you know, being aware of dog body language and what could be triggering to another dog and what might not be, and things would be helpful. But I just feel it's always like a losing battle. It's the same with, you know, when you're in an area where you're going to more likely see joggers and cyclists.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some that are brilliant and give you plenty notice that they're coming. They'll ding their bell, they'll call out, they'll say jogger behind you or coming through. Brilliant. That gives me time to call my dog in, let you past, fine. But then you've got others who are just like, psst, and then you've got no time to call your dog in. If your dog gets a fright and goes to start to chase them, because of their bad experiences, they can get a little bit physical with your dog, which is always a bit scary. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is basically, but I just wish there was more responsibility taken so everybody could enjoy the spaces.
Definitely.
Because I think that everybody, regardless whether you've got a dog with you, no dog with you, kids with you, sociable dogs, less sociable dogs, you should all be able to use same spaces because everybody else is more aware of what they're doing and how their behaviour impacts somebody else.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's fine
but
when you're like...
Also, I'm not against there being segregated spaces for people who want that. Like everybody's entitled to have the opportunity to use the space, and so if some people need to use it separately, then they should be allowed to do that, I think.
Yeah.
You know, if they put a fence up around the play park here, I wouldn't be cross about that. You know,
no, I wouldn't. I don't. I think yes, it might. I could see how for some people things like that might make it tricky for them if they have a dog who can't be left, for example, and they've, you know, I feel sorry for people who do put the work in, have done the training, their dog's actually not a problem to anybody, and now because again irresponsible people, their dog can't go with them. That's a shame, but such is life. You cannot please everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take your dog to Tesco's, you know.
No,
you've not got people.
You can't go to Tesco's.
Not got people protesting outside Tesco's because they can't take their dog inside. You know, we just have to accept that there are places we can't take our dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aye. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good wee. It's like a semi rant to end the year off with, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So basically the takeaways from our semi rant. I want to go back and tuck back into my Pringles. The semi rant, I've been living on them. The semi rant and takeaways from this are, well, for me, I'm trying to say, do your training with your dog. Like get your dog to a decent standard. Where you can get them out of any situation. They'll listen to what you ask. It'll be great. Those of us with sociable dogs, please learn to read body language more so. And the only reason I'm saying it that way is because, as I said, reactive people, we are hyper vigilant. We've already learned to read body language to stay out of trouble. So usually people with reactive dogs know exactly what's about to happen. Whereas when you've got a sociable dog, you definitely relax more. And you don't pay quite as much attention to everything. So learn that. Try to be more respectful to every party that's sharing the space with you.
Definitely.
I suppose.
Yeah,
And
be more present and aware of your surroundings. Like,
and don't get your knickers in a twist if there's restricted areas,
yeah,
because there's somewhere else you can go.
absolutely.
Everybody is entitled to enjoy the space that they're in.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
No, I think that was everything. That was all the takeaways.
Yeah.
Don't let your dog piss on the play part.
Yeah, don't do that. I know, I see people do that and I think, oh, for fuck's sake.
I hate that. Or
Like,
even just like the benches, pissing on the benches. Like,
aye, yeah, no, don't do that.
stop it.
Yep, no, with you on that one. Oh well, have a good New Year when it comes. This is, in fact, I think this is a good way to end season 1
Hmm.
of our podcast.
Yeah. Oh no, we should have left it on a cliffhanger. You know?
No,
Oh well, never mind. We didn't
I
think
can't
that
think.
through.
I can't think. I've been eating too much junk food.
Yeah.
My brain's died. I've fully invested in holiday mode.
Yeah. Oh, listen, before we go, I keep forgetting to tell you that I was recognised.
Oh,
So
I
I was
love
getting my
it.
nails, I was getting my nails done, and this woman was also getting something done, a patch test or something. She wasn't having intimate waxing or anything like that. Or something. And I was just chatting away, and she was like, "Are you off that podcast with Becky?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I recognised your voice." I was like,
Oh, how
also, I
nice.
was like, and also probably my blue jumper because I'm always wearing that blue cam jumper. Not today, but
No,
normally
not
I'm
today.
always wearing that. So I had like my blue jumper on. It's like,
That's so
oh, I
nice.
love that podcast.
Oh, that's so
Oh
nice. Oh
my
well, let's.
god, I've been recognised.
I know. I'm just hoping we make season 2
I
as
know.
nice as season 1.
I know. Maybe we can
Yeah.
break out of the EH21 postcode area with our fame.
Yeah. Aye. No, we will do. It's because we will. Right. I'm going to go back to eating Pringles
Okay.
and enjoying the rest of the year.
Okay. Love you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye for now.